My name is Crystal. I'm 29 and I've spent most of my life trying to stay small enough that no one notices me. Junk belongs with junk, my father announced into the microphone at my own wedding reception in downtown Nashville. He wasn't just mocking it. He held up the old yellowed passbook Grandpa Arthur had slipped into my hand only minutes earlier, then dropped it straight into the bucket of melting ice and champagne. The room exploded with laughter. Guests raised glasses, thinking it was some kind of joke. My brand new white dress caught the edge of the table as I moved. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I plunged my arm into the freezing water up to the elbow, ruined the silk and lace completely, and pulled the soaked pages out before they dissolved. Champagne dripped from my fingers. The laughter kept going. I turned, walked straight through the crowd, and left the venue without looking back at anyone. Before I tell you what was really hidden inside that ruined little book and exactly how it brought my father's entire carefully built world crashing down, tell me in the comments. What's the cruelest thing a family member has ever done to you at a celebration or wedding? I'm reading every single one. 3 days later, I stepped into the First National Bank in downtown Nashville. The lobby was all marble floors and hushed whispers, a stark contrast to everything I had left behind. I held the passbook inside a plastic Ziploc bag. The pages were wrinkled and stained, but I carried it like it was the only thing that mattered. I was wearing my usual thrift store coat. As an ICU nurse, disappearing into the background is what I do best. But right there at the teller window, I felt completely exposed. I need to check the balance on this, I said, sliding the bag across the polished counter. It was a gift from my grandfather. The teller, a girl who couldn't have been more than 20, picked it up with 2 fingers. Her nose wrinkled slightly. She typed in the account number and waited. Then she froze. Her fingers stopped. She leaned closer to the screen. The color drained from her face. "Ma'am," she whispered, voice shaking, "please wait here. Do not leave." She didn't hit an alarm, but within seconds, the branch manager and a man in a bespoke suit, the regional director, were hurrying toward me. They didn't glance at my cheap coat. They looked at me like I was someone they had been expecting for years. "Miss Hamilton," the director said, ushering me toward a heavy steel door in the back, "please. We've been waiting for this account to be claimed for a very long time." They led me into a private viewing room that smelled faintly of old paper and dust. As they went to retrieve the file, I sat down in a leather chair and closed my eyes. The heavy clank of the vault door brought me back. The director placed a thick file on the table and opened it carefully. "Your grandfather didn't just open a savings account, Miss Hamilton," he said. "In the 1980s, Grandpa Arthur established a Totten Trust. He was an early investor in Amazon and Tesla. Every dividend was reinvested, untouched, for 40 years. He turned the document toward me. "The current value of the trust legally payable to you is $13,800,000. The number sat there on the page, black and absolute. $13,800,000. I stared at it. I thought about the way my father had smiled when he dropped that passbook into the ice. He had held $13,800,000 in his hand and thrown it away because he was too arrogant to look inside. "Is anyone else listed on the account?" I asked, my voice calm. "No," the director said. "Just you. It's entirely yours." I touched the dried passbook. It wasn't just money. It was the one thing that could change everything. The director explained the paperwork and the legal steps, walking me through the process of claiming the inheritance and the tax implications. I listened carefully, taking in every word, but my mind was already racing ahead to what this meant for my future. The room felt smaller as the reality settled in. I asked a few more questions about the trust to make sure I understood everything. The director answered patiently. When everything was done, I left the bank with the passbook in my bag. I got into my car and drove the 30 minutes back to the cottage in Franklin. The drive gave me time to let the numbers sink in. Back at the cottage in Franklin, I sat on the porch looking out at the lake, and the memories came rushing back. I was 12 years old again, kneeling on the hardwood floor of the big house in Nashville. My father had spilled his scotch on purpose. I knew it the second the glass tipped. The amber liquid spread across the wood in a slow, deliberate stain. "Clean it up," he said softly, settling back into his armchair. He didn't raise his voice. He never had to. The quiet was worse. I grabbed a rag from under the sink and started wiping. My knees ached against the floorboards. Grandpa Arthur appeared in the doorway, his cane tapping lightly. He reached down to help me stand. My father's voice cracked like a whip. "Touch that rag, old man, and I'll put you in a nursing home so fast you won't have time to pack your pills." Grandpa Arthur froze. His hand hovered for a second, then dropped. He turned and walked away slowly, shoulders bent. My mother stood in the kitchen doorway. Carol watched the whole thing. She met my eyes for half a second, then looked down at the floor. She shook her head just once, barely noticeable, before turning back to the dishes. Michael was sprawled across the sofa, controller in hand, laughing at something on the screen. His feet were propped up on the coffee table I had just polished the day before. "You missed a spot, little sister," he called without looking up. I kept scrubbing. The rag turned dark with scotch and dirt. My knuckles scraped against the grain of the wood until they bled. Small red drops mixed with the spill. My father watched every stroke. He swirled what was left in his glass and smiled that small, satisfied smile. "Girls clean," he said quietly, almost to himself. "Boys conquer." Michael snorted and kept playing. My mother stayed in the kitchen, the clink of plates the only sound she made. I scrubbed until the floor shone again, until my hands were raw and stinging, until I believed, really believed, that my only value was in how much I could take without breaking. The memory faded as the sun dipped lower over the lake. I opened my eyes. Evan was inside, sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open, fingers moving steadily across the keys. Evan didn't look up when I walked in. He was staring at the screen, fingers hovering over the keyboard, like he was holding his breath. I set my bag down quietly and stood behind him. Spreadsheets filled the display, rows of numbers in red and black, account statements pulled from public records and private databases he had access to through work. He finally spoke without turning. "It's not an empire, Crystal. It's a house of cards built on bridge loans and lies." He scrolled slowly, pointing to the key lines. "The Nashville house is already in foreclosure proceedings. Started 3 weeks ago. The family trust he always talks about at dinners. It's empty. Zero balance for over a year." I leaned closer. He tapped another tab. "He's been cycling the same $50,000 between 6 shell companies. Round and round to make the books look liquid. It's textbook Ponzi. New money pays old promises until the music stops." Evan switched to an email screenshot. "The IRS sent a notice of deficiency last month. They're auditing everything. Offshore accounts, unreported income, fake deductions. He's got maybe months before they freeze everything." I felt the air leave the room. Evan turned the laptop toward me fully. "And your mother?" Carol knew. She signed some of the transfer documents 2 years ago to move funds between the shells. She didn't ask questions. She just did what he told her to keep the peace. He paused, letting that sink in. She's been enabling it the whole time, quietly. Probably thinking it would blow over or that he'd fix it somehow. I stared at the red figures. The man who had humiliated me in front of hundreds of people wasn't sitting on a fortune. He was drowning. Evan closed one window and opened another, a summary of penalties. "He's not just broke. He's facing federal charges if this goes public. Tax evasion, wire fraud, securities violations. Prison time, years." He looked at me then, eyes steady. "He doesn't just want money, he needs it to stay out of federal prison." The words hung there heavy and final. I stepped back, arms crossed tight across my chest. Before I could say anything, my phone vibrated on the table. The screen lit up. "Robert." I put the phone on speaker. Evan stopped typing. "Alyssa, my father said no hello, no sorry, just straight to business." His voice was calm, like he was discussing the weather. "I've been thinking about that little cottage in Franklin your grandfather left you." I gripped the edge of the table. "What about it? I'm going to do you a favor," he continued. "I spoke to my real estate attorney this morning. We can liquidate it fast. Fair market value, cash in hand within 30 days. I'll handle the sale, put the proceeds straight into the family business. You'll actually see a return for once." He gave a short, dry chuckle. "You're an ICU nurse, sweetheart. You don't know the first thing about property taxes, maintenance fees, or capital gains. I'm trying to save you a headache. I glanced at Evan. He was already pulling up the county records on his second screen. I'm not selling, Dad. Silence stretched for 3 full seconds. Then the tone shifted. Lower, sharper. You listen to me very carefully. Your mother already agreed to sign the transfer paperwork. She knows what's best for this family. Grandpa Arthur wasn't in his right mind when he signed that deed over to you. I have witnesses ready to testify he was confused, forgetful, maybe even showing signs of dementia. If you don't sign by Friday, I will file suit against you for elder abuse. I'll drag you through probate court until legal fees bankrupt you. I heard breathing on the line, soft, uneven. My mother was there. Carol hadn't said a word, but her sigh came through the speaker like a weight settling. Robert kept going. Do you understand me? You're out of your depth, Crystal. You always have been. He wasn't protecting me. He was hunting for any asset he could grab to plug the holes he'd dug himself. I understand perfectly, I said, keeping my voice even. Good. I'll have the papers couriered over tomorrow. Sign them. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. The line went dead. I stared at the phone for a moment, then looked up at Evan. He wasn't scared. He was smiling, cold, sharp, the same smile that had appeared when he first showed me the red numbers. My father thought he was bullying a helpless daughter. He had just handed us the next piece of the plan. 24 hours later, I called my father back. The line rang twice before he picked up. Dad, I whispered, letting my voice shake just enough. I'm sorry I hung up yesterday. I didn't know what to say. He didn't respond right away. I could picture him leaning back in his chair, deciding how much to push. You should be sorry, he finally said, but the edge had softened. He was listening now. I swallowed hard, forcing the words out in a rush. It's not just the cottage. I went to the bank again. The passbook. It wasn't empty like we thought. Complete silence on his end. I waited 3 beats. How much, he asked. The greed leaked through the phone like oil. $13,800,000, I choked out. Dad, I don't know what to do. The manager started talking about taxes, federal reporting audits. I think I'm in real trouble. If the IRS finds out, they'll take half. I don't know how to hide it or even where to start. It was perfect bait. I handed him exactly what he believed about me, weak, naive, completely out of my depth. And I handed him exactly what he needed, a massive cash injection to cover his tracks. Listen to me very carefully, Crystal, he said, his tone shifting instantly from bully to savior. It was chilling how fast it happened. Do not sign anything with that bank. Do not talk to any lawyers. You bring every piece of paperwork to me. I can shelter it under the family trust. We can classify it as a pre-existing asset. It's complicated, but I can make the tax liability disappear. I'm doing this for you, sweetheart. To protect you. Protect me. He wanted to swallow the inheritance whole and use it to plug the black hole he had created. Can we do it tonight? I asked, voice small. No, he said too quickly. I have the big gala at the Fairmont Nashville on Saturday. That's perfect. Bring the documents there. We'll sign everything in the VIP suite before the speeches. I'll announce the expansion of the family fund. It'll look completely legitimate. Of course, he wanted an audience. Applause, a public unveiling of $13,800,000 as proof of his own genius. Okay, I said softly. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for fixing this. That's what fathers are for, he replied. I hung up. The fear dropped from my face instantly. Evan looked up from the printer. He had already formatted the documents to match exactly what Robert would expect, same font, same legal headers, same layout as standard transfer forms. But the fine print was different. It wasn't a transfer of funds. It was an affidavit of sole liability, tying him retroactively to every shell account, every unreported transaction, every year of fraud. Evan hit print. The pages fed out smoothly. He took the bait, I said. Evan nodded once. Already done. We just need his signature. Saturday night, I stepped into the ballroom at the Fairmont Nashville wearing an expensive red dress. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over the crowd. Tables were filled with Nashville's elite politicians, donors, business owners in tuxedos and gowns. Soft jazz played from a small band near the stage. My father stood near the front, flanked by 2 major sponsors. He was radiant, shaking hands, laughing at jokes, the picture of success. He saw me approaching and excused himself politely. His smile held for the photographers, but his eyes narrowed when I got close. "You're on time," he murmured through clenched teeth. "Do you have it?" I held out the blue leather folder. "Everything's here," I said evenly. Transfer authorizations, power of attorney, all documents putting the full amount under control of the family trust. You just need to sign as sole trustee to accept the assets. He snatched the folder. His fingers trembled slightly, not from nerves, from anticipation. He flipped it open. Didn't read the clauses, didn't check the definitions or the appendix dates stretching back 20 years. He saw the signature line and nothing else. A smarter man would have paused at the title Affidavit of Historical Management and Sole Liability. He wasn't smart. He was desperate. He pulled a pen from his inside pocket and signed with a flourish. "You did the right thing coming to me," he said, handing the folder back. "Now go find a seat in the back. I have an announcement to make." He climbed the steps to the podium. The room quieted. The spotlight found him. I didn't move to the back. I stepped to the side, pulled out my phone, photographed the signed page, and sent it. 3 miles away, Evan received it, attached it to the whistleblower package we had prepared, and uploaded everything to the DOJ secure portal. My father took the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced proudly, "tonight we launch a historic expansion of the Hamilton Family Foundation, a $13,800,000 commitment to this city's future." The words echoed through the speakers. He was confessing in real time. In front of 600 witnesses, he claimed ownership of funds now tied directly to 2 decades of unreported offshore accounts. The 60-foot LED screen behind him flickered. The foundation logo vanished. In its place appeared the seal of the Department of Justice stamped in bold red letters. "Federal asset seizure in progress." The applause died instantly. Silence crashed over the room like a wave. My father turned confused at first. Not frightened, just puzzled. That was his fatal flaw. Not ignorance, entitlement. He had never believed someone he dismissed could build a trap this big. The ballroom doors burst open. 6 IRS criminal investigation agents moved down the center aisle in formation. Robert Hamilton, the lead agent, called, voice cutting through the hushed step away from the podium. My father gripped the microphone tighter. "Do you know who I am?" "We do," the agent replied calmly. "You're the sole trustee who just signed an affidavit accepting full responsibility for 20 years of unreported offshore accounts and fraudulent transactions." My father spun toward me. "She tricked me, my daughter." "Save it for the grand jury," the agent said. Handcuffs clicked shut. Cameras flashed as he was led away, stripped of his grandeur, reduced to a man in a rented tuxedo. The doors to the VIP suite slammed shut behind me. Michael burst in from the hallway, face flushed purple. He was breathing hard, eyes wild. In his right hand, he clutched a steak knife from one of the catering trays, knuckles white around the handle. "You ruined everything," he snarled, voice cracking on the last word. "You destroyed us." He lunged forward, blade raised. Evan moved faster. He stepped between us, caught Michael's wrist mid-swing, twisted hard. The knife clattered across the marble floor and skidded under a table. Michael swung his free fist. Evan blocked it, shoved him back against the wall. My mother rushed in behind him, dress torn at the hem from running. "Michael, stop, please!" Carol grabbed his arm, pulling with all her strength. "This isn't helping anyone." He shook her off like she weighed nothing. "Stay out of it, Mom." The VIP suite door rattled. Agents outside heard the commotion. It burst open seconds later. 2 IRSCI agents rushed in, weapons drawn low. Hands up. "Everyone," Michael froze. The fight drained out of him. He slid down the wall, sobbing, not from pain, from the sudden emptiness of knowing it was over. They cuffed him on the spot. Carol stood there, hands shaking, tears streaming, but she didn't fight them. She just watched as they led her son away. That was 3 weeks ago. My father was denied bail. The judge cited flight risk and the scale of the fraud. He's serving 12 years for tax evasion, securities fraud, and operating a Ponzi scheme. All assets frozen and liquidated by the government. The Nashville house, the cars, the accounts gone. My mother filed for divorce the next week. She took back her maiden name and moved to a small apartment in Murfreesboro. No more silence. No more enabling. Michael declared bankruptcy. No inheritance left. He's working construction now, entry-level back-breaking shifts to pay off what he can. The spoiled heir is gone. I sit on the porch of the cottage in Franklin. The lake is calm today. I burn the last copy of the affidavit in a small metal bowl. The flames eat the paper quickly. I don't need it anymore. The DOJ and I, RS, have everything that matters. Evan sits beside me. The trust transfer is complete, he says quietly. It's all in your name now. What do you want to do with it? I look out at the water. $13,800,000. Nothing, I say. Let it grow. I'm still an ICU nurse, still Crystal. The money isn't power. It's protection. And family isn't blood. Family is who stands beside you when the vault opens. I turn to Evan. For the first time in a long time, I smile real unguarded. He smiles back.